Hello, everybody, and welcome back to We Bought a Mic, or should I say, We Bought a Moon.
We, for all pod kind.
For pod mic kind.
I'll allow it.
Soon to be We Bought a Mars. We'll see. On this pop culture podcast.
Fingers crossed.
Pop culture space cast. Talking one of the best shows, probably the best show that no one is watching, is what I've been saying, For All Mankind on Apple TV Plus. Welcome. My name's Ernest, and with me is Dane, friend of the pod, donor of the pod. How you doing, man?
I'm doing great. Not on island time anymore. Very normal time.
Moon time? Mars
moon
time?
It's Mars time. We can call it Mars time.
Orbit time?
Oh God.
Space hotel time.
We're getting our space capitalism on this time, huh?
We love to see it. All right. So couple housekeeping items. We just had you on for Top Gun Maverick, which was rowdy, loud. We were still in the danger zone during that episode. We were screaming about Tom Cruise. Mostly Hunter was screaming about Tom Cruise. And no, I was screaming plenty too. Look, it's a great movie. Okay,
we were feeling it. We were all there. We were, I think we matched Hunter's level.
Right,
he really brought it.
Hunter sadly has come down with the old novel coronavirus. He's fine, but we just wanted to take all precautions and wait it out until he was all in the clear. But yeah, a fallen member of the pod fam. We held out this whole time. Actually, for all I know, I could have gotten COVID and just like never showed symptoms.
Didn't feel it. It's possible. I don't know. Thoughts and prayers for Hunter, though. Thoughts and prayers.
And also, we just have a lot going on in our lives right now, and sometimes it's hard to do the podcast. But I wanted to get something out there this week, and this is the perfect time to do this because this show just came back for its third season,
and it is great.
It's phenomenal. It's absolutely phenomenal. And I think this is a good moment to bring you in, because I don't know if we talked about this on pod as much as we did off pod, but you're kind of the only person that I know that watches as much TV as I do. So this is a good, I think you watch more than I do, and I watch a lot. It's a good time to be able to take in this moment of like peak TV that we find ourselves in, because we don't have the bandwidth to talk about it all on this podcast. And especially, Hunter and Drew don't have the bandwidth to watch as much. So it's a matter of like what we're able to get our hands on sometimes. So maybe we can start there. Like, how do you feel about like the plethora of television that we have right now? And why is this show worth kind of spotlighting amongst all the choices?
All right. So I think I was really kind of a mindset where I think it probably really started before the huge plethora of streaming services. I think like I was like the golden age of like digital TV era was like, it was like Netflix, Hulu, and like HBO, like before HBO Max. And everybody was, they were all three putting out pretty consistently good stuff, I would think. There's little declines in certain areas. And I think it was really once more streaming services became available, that was the decline of some of the quality.
The bloat.
However, right. It's a saturated market, right?
Right.
We're capitalists right now.
Yeah.
Communism, socialism, bad.
I feel the bloat right now, man. Every time I flip on Disney Plus, like there was a week a couple weeks ago where like Obi-Wan started, and
as Obi-Wan, Stranger Things on the same day.
And Stranger Things, yeah. And then The Boys came on, and I was like, there was like a week stretch there where I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. It's a summer of a lot of good things, I think. Right now. That's good. But I do think that For All Mankind. So I didn't watch the first 2 seasons live. You mentioned that it was really good.
Yeah.
You were like, you all should watch this. And I saw that and I kept it in the back of my mind. I mean, the TV Plus, the Apple TV Plus, it wasn't really like a huge like contender in my mind. I think it was really, what did I watch? I watched Ted Lasso right before the second season started. I think I'd got it because it was like $5 extra or something. I'm an Apple Music guy. Just to watch Mythic Quest. So Mythic Quest,
they were
Ted
giving it
Lasso.
away when it first launched.
Yeah,
they were like, if you have a new
that might have been it.
iPhone, you just have this for like 12 months.
It's what's crazy about it though to me is the quality of the stuff on here is actually shocking to me. They
won Best Picture for Coda.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Also, we've spotlighted on previous episodes. Severance. We did a whole episode on that, and Drew and I also talked about the After Party. So they're hitting a moment right now where they're kind of standing out from the crowd as like the quality house.
Yeah. I mean, I think what it really is coming to me right now is it's like it's HBO, but a little bit more refined. Right.
Well, HBO still is on its own level, I think, just because it's been doing it for so long. They have these like Titan like legends like The Wire and The Sopranos.
Yeah.
And, all these things. But
Flight of the Conchords, Tenacious D.
Oh my God. But yeah, I think that Apple right now is like they're eating a little bit of Netflix lunch. Like Netflix is in the quantity game.
They did have Stranger Things 4 is doing pretty big right now.
Oh, huge.
Yeah.
Incredibly popular show. But that's like the one, that's like the one ubiquitous.
Yeah.
And Apple isn't necessarily going for that. Like it goes to show this show, For All Mankind. I think part of the reason why I wanted to do this is because no one is watching it. And I want to highlight it and I want to get people to watch it. But it's not even close to the level of popularity as Stranger Things.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it is baffling. Like after watching the show, it is baffling how it like has flown under the under the radar. Test pilots stuff. That was terrible.
No, I got you. It's under the hard deck.
Yes, under the hard deck.
Yeah. So I think the building blocks of We Bought a Mic are in part coated with the sheen of a show called Halt and Catch Fire, which aired on AMC a couple of years ago. And during its final season was when we started this podcast, because we knew that show was special and that no one was watching it. And we didn't hear any podcasts about it because no one really seemed to pay any attention to it. So we were like, all right, I guess we have to start our own podcast talking about this show. And after that show wrapped up, it ended up on Netflix and it kind of garnered a little bit of an audience that it never had when it was airing. And I'm kind of feeling a little bit of a similar energy with For All Mankind. It's a very underseen show. It's not even close to being the most popular show on the network. AMC had Mad Men and Breaking Bad.
Right.
Now Apple TV has Ted Lasso and like all these other things, Pachinko, Severance. It's getting attention for all these heavy hitters. And For All Mankind is kind of flying under that radar, under that hard deck. And it is one of the best shows on right now, period. Right. So now we're arriving at season 3. But before we actually dive into the premiere that aired today as of this recording, let's kind of catch people up a little bit. You said you just binged this show. I convinced you to. What do you think?
So what was really crazy was I was really intrigued by the premise. So the premise is that the Russians beat us to the moon.
Yeah.
And then the space race just doesn't end because like America's we're not going to take that. No,
the Cold War and the space race become one and the same.
Yeah. But what really initially after that immediate storyline is kind of introduced, the overarching plot, I started to fall in love with all of the characters. They are all incredible.
And so that's another Halt and Catch Fire link too. It's a big kind of concept, right? So Halt and Catch Fire is about the boom of the kind of the technology revolution when computers first started becoming, more prevalent and ubiquitous in culture. The space race is kind of an analogous to that, right? But it doesn't get swept up in that grandeur. It manages to focus on the characters.
Right. It's more along the lines of this alternate history, but the alternate history is really just the setting and not the focus in any way, shape, or form. It really allows them to do all sorts of crazy shit that definitely didn't happen, but if we cared enough, could happen.
Somehow Reagan still gets elected.
Yeah. What is does Nixon doesn't get Watergate, does he?
I feel like that's true. Yeah.
I think he just loses re-election.
They do these montages where it's just you get little tiny things, like in this season 3 premiere, it's like the Beatles reunite because
John Lennon didn't die.
Yeah.
They stopped the assassin. It's it doesn't impact the plot in any way, shape, or form. It's just oh yeah, that's neat. Okay.
Ronald Reagan though, that's like a Nexus event.
Yeah.
Well, all the multiverses, Ronald Reagan gets elected.
So the whole thing starts with, I guess the crew of is Apollo 10 is our two boys, Gordo and the less exciting angry guy. I just really
Joel Kinnaman, the main guy.
Joel Kinnaman. Yeah.
Okay. So here's kind of a disclaimer. If you're listening to this and you've never watched this show, by the way, I had this show in my top 10 of the year last year for season 2. It's one of my favorites, but if you're jumping in without hearing anything I said on that episode, basically the spiel that I give is that, what Dane said about how the Russians beat us to the moon, that's the end of episode 1. But the show doesn't actually fully introduce what it's really about until the end of the following episode, which is the Russians land the first woman on the moon.
Right.
That's really the show. And one of my notes that I would give, and it's fine if TV shows don't start out perfect, because part of what television is finding the show. And that's a very natural thing that television has always historically done, which is you start out somewhere and as you go along, you get to the thing, right? You don't start at the thing.
You don't just give away the ending at the beginning. You let the story unfold and how it's gonna go.
But usually it's not even about giving it away. It's literally just about how television is made and how the writers work. And a lot of times, that process, they don't know what it is. They can't give it away because they don't know.
They haven't fully realized. They don't have an end game plan.
They have to find it. And I'm not saying that's what this show is or what the process of writing it was, but in the spirit of what television has historically been, I think there's
not an end in sight.
It's okay to give it a little bit of leeway. I'm sure with this show, they had a very planned out path.
They've got a roadmap. The route might be a little different,
but in the spirit of what television has historically been, sometimes the beginning is a little rocky, and this show doesn't fully find itself until maybe
it's episode 3 or 4. It's when they do that. I mean, minor spoilers. There's a lot of time skips throughout the series,
right? Which is something that people might have trouble with, but it is one of my favorite things about this show.
It caught me off guard the first time they did it. And after they did it the first time, I understood that I wasn't going to be left in the dark about anything. They were going to fill in the blanks of what happened over the 2 years or whatever.
They're so good
2 years,
at that.
5 years. It's baffling how good they are at that.
Yeah.
What I think I guess it's technically 2 gripes, but the gripe is really with, sometimes I don't like writing decisions that they make. But the crazy thing is that I always like where these writing decisions lead to. Even if I I talked about this with you, that there's one storyline in the second season that I absolutely hate. I hate it so much.
We'll get to that because it shockingly continues in the third season, which I did not expect. But we'll put a pin on that because we gotta dive into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically the show is not just an alternate history of the Russians beating us to the moon. It's them putting a woman. Focused. Yeah, it's a character focus and then putting a woman on the moon. And that changes everything, right? The idea that NASA now has to focus its program on women as a reflection of trying to beat the Russians.
If you really think about it, it's like one little thing and happens differently, and then the world is constantly catching up and changing to match that, right?
Right.
So the first thing that happens, you look at it and you're like, oh, this is how history happened, right? It's just this one little thing. And as the show continues, it gets further and further, and the world develops in different ways because it's like, okay, so they developed new technologies for something else, and that got into the private sector. And so everybody's got electric cars in 1980.
And, nuclear energy keeps going.
Yeah. And I mean, the women in space thing was huge because it lets the cast be a lot less dudes, which I think
is great,
incredibly beneficial to the storyline.
And the dudes kind of fall into these more secondary roles that allow them to be a little bit more nuanced, a little bit more vulnerable. You start out, the Joel Kinnaman character starts out as this very stock astronaut man and quickly develops into something a little bit more broken, a little bit more tragic. That character, I don't want to give away what happens with him, but it gets sad.
It's like they're not only journeying to the moon, they're journeying inside of their soul and figuring themselves out because they've been relegated to a background position.
Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I think that, the whole like female leadership is something that this show it never beats you over the head with it.
Yeah,
it's never
it doesn't feel out of place.
Rock. It's never trying to do that. It's never trying to be like this is a feminist show. It's just like very, very matter of factly showing you an alternate reality in which women are given these more prevalent positions of power and decision making. And things turn out arguably like way better.
I mean,
than our reality.
Yeah. There's a lot of There's one thing specifically that turns out way better, specifically mentioned because a specific woman was there to.
Yep.
It's incredible.
And not just women in space, but women at mission control too. That's another huge side of the show. The show kind of is split between the astronauts going up into orbit and eventually to the moon, and also mission control. And, I've heard some criticisms about people saying that they don't like it when the show cuts away from space because, let's say, space is fucking thrilling. It's exhilarating in this show.
Every time they're in space, I'm like, somebody's going to die. I know it's going to happen.
But I think that it does a really good job at balancing the different tones because the stuff on the ground is a little bit more quiet, a little bit more, a little bit less exciting, but you kind of need both flavors for this show to work. Don't you think?
I find it actually entirely different. I find the stuff on the ground to be some of the more exciting stuff because the stuff on the ground is a lot of like them realizing
you're a mission control kind of guy.
Yeah,
that's who you are.
That's exactly right. The people up in space, they know what's going on. It's the people down on Earth that are like, wait, what's happening up there? And they have to figure it out and then come up with a solution to give to the astronauts. So I'm, I don't want to be edge of my seat, like everything, like explosive decompression, space communists. I don't need that 24/7. Right. I really, I mean, I have like two favorite characters that like they can't do anything wrong, and it's one of the astronauts, Gordo, and then Margot, the mission control lady. And I think that's just because I've known so many women engineers from Huntsville, Alabama, that it's kind of rubbed off on me. But
so I want to talk about some actual like specific things that happened in season 1 and 2 that really like made me fall in love with this show. So do you have any other kind of non-spoiler things that you want to share with people before we kind of start diving into specifics?
I would say as another, also as just a general fan of accurate science, there is no sound in space.
Oh yeah.
And they do that very nicely. All the shots of camera focusing, it's just full of incredible space action that doesn't feel like ooh sci-fi. It feels realistic.
Yeah. That's one of the best things about this show, is that even though it takes place in an alternate reality where it starts to tiptoe into science fiction very much, it never loses the thread of what is plausible.
Right.
All right. So if this hasn't convinced you, just dive in, take our word for it. At least try to maybe get through all of season 1. I'll say that after that time jump you mentioned, which is around it's the midpoint,
only uphill for there.
It is terrific television. Like the last 3-4 episodes of season 1 are amazing. Just incredible television.
And then if you get through season 1 and are worried about continuing season 2, the last 2 episodes of season 2 are some of the best episodes of television I have seen in my entire life.
100% agree. 100% agree. So let's dive into those episodes right now. Kind of backtracking to, I guess, the biggest kind of spoiler about season 1 that I would say is, it's not, I wouldn't even say this is a huge spoiler, but the fact that like they have a base on the moon, Jonestown, right? This is a huge plot point.
Jamestown.
Jonestown.
Get it right.
They all huff moon vacuum air.
Oh my God.
Together to join in to the moon god. Jamestown. Sorry. That's the colony on the moon. That was one of the moments where I kind of sat up in my chair and I was like, oh, what are we doing?
Right. That was the moment where it was like, oh, we are straying from history drastically now.
Yeah.
And
that's on operational moon base, but it's not beyond the level of plausibility. Like when you try to picture how our version of NASA would execute a base on the moon, it would probably look a lot like this.
Right. And I mean, going on, like later on, the colony, it gets bigger. And so there's more people and it becomes less of like a desolate moon hellscape. And it becomes kind of a community. But at the very beginning, it's like the 3 of them there, and they're just there alone. They get supplies now and then. I don't remember how long their like tour was, but it was like 6 months or something like that, maybe. Mm-hmm. And it's just like the idea of spending 6 months in essentially a single room with 2 other people that like aren't like one of them, 2 of them are best friends. The third woman is just kind of like, I wouldn't say she's just there. She's an incredible character, but she doesn't fit in.
Danielle Poole.
Danielle, yeah. And I mean, I'm there for Gordo,
Yeah, we'll get to Gorgo in a second, but yeah, I think the other big plot point, now that I'm kind of looking at the plot summaries here, is Karen and Ed's son is in a horrible, tragic accident, and he dies. Yeah. And that is, the way that's handled is one of the saddest things I've seen in a long time, because they don't tell him. They keep it from him.
Well, I mean, there's some other circumstances of why they didn't tell him.
Right.
He's alone at this point on the moon, and he's been there way longer than he should be. And they're like, we don't want to like say anything that'll like get him to like fucking off himself or anything.
Right.
And so it's this whole like ethical dilemma of like, do we tell him his son is dead?
Yeah. And it creates this strain on their marriage, which sets up a whole other set of dominoes that keeps going. But that notion of like, we know from hearing about astronauts in our world that marriages can be extremely strained because of you're literally worlds apart, right?
Right.
Imagine that to the point where like somebody's living on the moon. Like that is an unimaginable distance for a relationship. And then to throw in a dead kid into that,
right.
The way the show handles that is so expertly
very
done
well,
because you never feel like it's coming out of left field. It always, all of these decisions that happen, it all feel like they are from a place of emotional consistency with the general themes that the entire story is trying to get across.
Honestly, I think the only decision that doesn't really make a lot of sense to me from a practical standpoint, but does narratively, is the fact that the Soviets put the first woman on the moon.
Well, that is I think communists in general are very unwilling to separate genders in the way that we have done in our Western side of things.
I could see that a little bit. I think it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't really have an issue. It's just it kind of, I saw that and I said, interesting decision. I'll see where it goes. And seeing where it goes, it's great.
The way I read it was just like, it's either the Soviets trying to fuck with the Americans to be like, hey, look what we can do. You're all caught up in your fucking bullshit, trying to divide each other.
and I think that
we don't have these divisions.
I think that's the really interesting part about this is it's like, that is the thing that is the hardest for me to buy. And even still, it's explained in a way that I don't feel like it's just kind of like a plot device. Like it feels natural to the story. Exactly. While I can also see like, oh, I know why you do this. I like where this is going. This is good.
And this show is full of choices like that.
Right. Exactly.
Like it consistently is doing things like that you feel like in any other show would be this wildly kind of out of left field decision. And for some reason, the way this is plotted out and the way this is,
it feels exactly normal.
It feels right. Yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, this is exactly how they would react in this situation.
Exactly. So the end of season 1, I think is a really good kind of capper on the whole journey, because that last episode really zeroes in on one of the things that this show does so well, which is showing you why space is fucking terrifying.
Yeah. and it has a really good way of like bringing all the characters together. Like the entire season, it's so much of like, here's everybody's good side and here's everybody's bad side. Right. And by the end of it, you're like, everybody knows that everybody sucks, but everybody still loves each other because they know that there is goodness in them. And
when there's peril in space,
they put all of that aside and immediately are there to help out their teammates,
but not before they come like centimeters close to total demise.
Yeah.
Like that's one of the things. It's like you obviously it's a television show and they find ways to like increase the tension and the drama to make it an entertaining watching experience, but it's like holy shit, you're coming this close.
I think what it is it's just like ultra heightened like brinkmanship. It's like, every time we got really close to nuclear annihilation in the past, how could we get even closer?
Right.
What could we do that would make this even worse than it already was?
Well, that leads perfectly into season 2, because season 2 skips 9 years
something like
into the future.
Yeah, we go from like the 60s to like the early 80s, late 70s, something like that.
I think you're right. Yeah. Well, I think it might be early 70s
the
early
band
80s.
is there's that one episode where they have the band song. The title of the episode is the name of that song.
The Wait.
Yeah, the one with Gordo and Trace.
Yeah, that's episode 5 of season 2.
Right.
Okay, so season 2 I think is a perfect season of television. I think it's a triumph, and I think that the time jump is only a piece of that. I think that the fact that the time jump allows them to do a couple of different things. So it allows them to have the Jamestown colony expand a lot. So now this moon base is not the type of moon base that we could ever do with our resources in our reality. This is a space program that is way more mature.
Up to it.
Yeah. So now we're seeing a version of NASA that's been pumped way more money and resources than our NASA ever has, at least to the public's viewpoint.
All the astronauts are all rock stars. Like,
yes,
that's a really neat thing. They're on like late night TV.
Well, specifically Tracy, Gordo's wife, ex-wife
by season 2.
They're fully divorced. I feel like they're just having trouble. Are they fully separated?
Because she announces that she's married to that other guy on late night TV, and he's like, right. "What the fuck? You didn't tell me?"
But okay, so that's the other thing. So Gordo's this hotshot pilot, like going into the space program in season 1, like really, really feeling good. By the time we get to Gordo in season 2, he's really let himself go.
We'd seen him at rock bottom in season 1, and the beginning of season 2 is him like, yeah, I know that I'm not cut out for this, so I'm just gonna try and live the best life that I can.
He's got a beer belly. He's got a scraggly mustache. Man. Like, we can all see ourselves in season 2 Gordo. We're like, man, we get you. We feel you, buddy.
He's fully aware of all the mistakes he's made in his past, and he's just trying to be comfortable with that,
But he still just wants to be a good dad. He's got his 2 boys. They're growing up quick. He wants to be there for them. He doesn't want to be on the moon while they grow up. While his wife is going to the moon as, practically a publicity stunt.
Right.
But he wants to be there. He wants to be a good dad. And I think that's, knowing how season 2 ends, that's such an emotional backbone of this season, is knowing that, like, this guy has to build himself back up to the version of himself that he didn't even know he still had in him. And that is such a home run of a character arc.
They just did such a good job of making you feel bad for this guy, because it's like very early on you're made fully aware of his flaws, and you know the kind of person he is, but it's also very, very good at showing all of the characters, especially Gordo in season 2, being good people and accepting their flaws.
Yeah, that's a huge theme throughout all the characters. All the characters are facing some type of inner turmoil. There's one character that is conflicted with her coming out as a lesbian and dealing with a gay relationship.
Side note, I've been describing this show as the gay space show to everybody I've told it about. So
I think it's going to be even more so in season 3.
It's wonderful. Yeah, but anyways, about her and her arc, and
so I'm trying to see which one that is. Is that Ellen?
Yeah, that's her name.
Ellen. Yeah. So you've got this whole, like, you got the astronauts, but you got this whole other crowd. And Ellen is an astronaut, right? Yeah, she goes up there.
Yes, she is an astronaut. I think she was like mostly a pilot, and then got all of the sciencey stuff to enable her to fly bigger and cooler planes.
Right.
I think she started out as a pilot.
Yeah. So that's the other thing, is that even though in this reality women have found a much easier path to leadership in the space program specifically, there's still a lot of kind of cultural barriers.
Yeah. I thought that was a really, really, really neat storyline in the first season, and I thought they wrapped it up in such an incredible way in the season 1 finale, in such a way that, again, felt realistic and like exactly what you would expect. There was no like, I accept you the way you are. It was not like warm and fuzzy.
Yeah, there's so many places where a show like this could get incredibly derivative and hokey.
Yeah, sappy.
And it never does that. It never ever does that. I don't think it ever takes the easy route. Okay, so a couple other big items from season 2 that we still need to touch on. So another way, so you've been pitching this as the gay space show.
The gay space show.
I've been pitching this as Guns on the Moon.
Because oh my god,
that's like, I need people to watch this show. Like, I gotta give them something, you know. So
what did I send you when I watched the first time the guns were like fired at somebody on the moon? It was like, it turns out it's less terror. It's better to die from the gunshot than to survive the gunshot on the moon.
Well, but weren't we saying that, like, how lucky it would be to just instantly like just get pulverized?
Yeah.
To just explode into energy.
Yeah.
Like, that's the ideal way to go. Like, that guy
we've seen so many die in space, and the guys who die the best die instantaneously.
But again, it's that point again of like, if you think about it, if someone were to fire a bullet without an atmosphere and it would pierce a spacesuit that's full of oxygen for that person to survive inside of it, that's exactly what would happen. You know,
create a spark, and then you're just on fire until you die, also suffocating.
All in the matter of 1 second.
And not only you can't stop, drop, and roll. It's a suit of fire.
That was a moment when that happened.
It was like, oh, shit's real now.
I was speechless. You know, and that raises the stakes, right? Because like, you're on season 2 at this point, you know, you've gotten to know your characters, you've gotten to know this world, and they've done a really good job at setting up the idea of the Russians as this real threat. And the way it's presented, it's so well done, because even though they're presented as a threat, they're not presented as the bad guys. And that's something that's really, really crucial, because when that moment happens, when that scene happens,
then they become the bad guys.
Well, no,
and
not
even then,
it's
like a sympathetic bad guy. You understand why they do what they do,
but it's a miscommunication.
Absolutely,
they can't talk to each other, not only because of their suits aren't linked up to but
the language barrier,
but the language, they literally can't say to each other what they need to say in order to survive that situation. And because of the mounting threat of the two governments, the astronauts on the moon are an extension. It's so crazy to think that, like, you're literally on the moon. You're not even on the same planet.
Right.
And you're still dealing with the same petty conflicts that the people on Earth are.
They're in our minds, though.
Yeah.
They're in our minds, Ernest. They can't have the ice. That's our ice.
By the way, that's another. God, there's so many moments that just like made me perk up watching this. When they find the ice, I'm like, motherfucker. Like,
it's such an exciting thing, and it doesn't feel like it would be exciting, but there it is being
and
exciting.
Molly is the one to like go for it and like risk her life for it, which, by the way, that's another
that was really nice thing.
So many great characters. Molly Cobb, played by Sonia Walger. I've seen her before. God, what was she in? I can't place it. I think she's just like that girl that's just in a bunch of stuff. Oh, she was in Lost. She's Penny. Yeah. She's Penny in Lost, not Penny's boat.
That means nothing to me.
Oh,
sorry.
You've never seen Lost? Okay.
No.
Yeah, maybe you probably missed the boat on that one.
I definitely did, and I don't intend to swim out to it.
But yeah, Guns on the Moon, dude. I mean, like, holy shit! Just seeing that guy get pulverized and then knowing that that's now a thing. and then seeing the rest of the show play out, the tension that builds.
What's crazy is like that like should be the climax, right? That's what you would think would be the climax. And
there's like three more episodes after that.
Yeah. What ends up being the total focal point is really just the 3 different missions that are all going on at the same time, and mission control figuring out what the hell is going on. Everybody's basically just like, you know what, mission control, fuck you. We're doing our own thing. And
well, what was it that you said when we were talking about this the other day? When you're talking about how like the way we see things play out in these last couple episodes with the nuclear reactor, and the fact that they have to shut it down. Is that what they're trying to do? They're trying to shut down the nuclear reactor. That's something that would never
come out. Yeah.
Like nobody would ever know that happened.
I think is kind of like a baffling thing that they probably must have like gave a satirized version like to the public, but like, you know, you can't tell America that you're refining plutonium on the moon.
Right.
You can't get that shit out. That is, whoa, dude, that is a step too far.
And it all again is character based because we have, you know, we care about the people that are dealing with this situation, and it all builds to a place that I honestly didn't think the show was going to go. Like for all the incredible things that this show has done and all the exciting, thrilling things, like to me up until this point, this was still it took me a while to like really give myself over to the show and fully embrace it, because I was still, for so much of it, I was still like, all right, I like this, but like, you know, let's get through it. Let's burn through as many episodes as we can. And somewhere along the way, I realized that I cared about these people deeply. And by the time we get to the end and the sacrifice that Gordo and Tracy made, I was sobbing. I cried like a baby.
I cried for my boy Gordo. For Tracy, you know, I poured one out for her, but I wasn't crying for her. I was crying for Gordo.
Duct tape spacesuit.
I liked Tracy so much more in season 1, and I think that was intentional, was so that they could bring her up to how Gordo was, and then show her that, you know, everybody can be shitty just like Gordo was, and you know, you got to work to be a good person. And just really such good character arcs. We're going to say that over and over again, and it's not going to make it any less true.
What did you think about that kind of climax though? The duct tape spacesuits and running out and giving their lives.
I saw him do that, and I was like, oh, Gordo's going to die. And like, I mean, ever since, again, that episode where the wait, I'm like, as Gordo's getting like ready to go to the moon, I'm like, Gordo's going to fucking die on the moon. and I'm not going to be half past dead. Yeah. It's like, wow, these are some really, really severe death flags. Okay. All right. Let me mentally prepare myself. And then they put that duct tape suit on, and I'm like, Gordo's not making it out of here. If he does, I'll be very happy, but I don't see that happen.
Just the work that they do to make you feel so invested and to really give a shit about that moment and about how much that means to him. And it's also not make you feel like he has any other choice either. Like that's the other thing, is like you never feel like you're being cheated out of a better option.
It's like he knows he can do it because he's prepared for this the entire time. And it's, again, you're right. I think that their story, their little plot line is really the backbone of the entire season.
It's like
Danielle, and I can't, I'm so bad with the names of the people that it's like, I say I don't care about them, and I really do care about them. And I just know them by face and their actions and the good things about them and the bad things about them. But like Joel Kinnaman's character, what he ends up doing in the second season at the very end, it doesn't feel out of character. It's all nuts. the entire time you're sitting there with the three different settings of what's happening. And you're like, if any one of these goes badly, they all go badly.
Right. Right. So as we transition to season 3, we can take this moment to talk about the worst part of season 2.
The worst part. Oh my God.
Which is Karen sleeping with Gordo and Tracy's oldest son.
Her dead son's best friend.
Oh, best friend. Sorry.
Yeah.
Is it? No, it's their son. Isn't it their son?
Yeah, it's their son, but their son, he was
their best friend's son.
Best friend.
Their best friend's son. Okay, yeah.
Everybody's friends. There's 2 generations. The friends of cross generations bone.
She may not look like it, but this character is like twice this kid's age. Like what? What's her name? Chantel.
She's an incredible actress. I've loved her in everything I've seen her in.
She's only 36 years old.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They do a good job of making her look like an old woman.
Older. Yeah.
But yeah, in terms of like the character's age, like
it's weird. And they like hint that like it's gonna happen for so long, and I'm like, oh, please, like let it just be like a quick thing. And they full on just like fucking the bunker
multiple times.
Yeah, you're like, whoa.
Yeah,
it's like I didn't really need this plot line. I like the heightened tension, but it's just so weird that like mentally grappling with that is like, I don't want to call it a chore. It's a hurdle. That's what it is.
It is a hurdle. It is a hurdle, especially when every other plot line seems so well thought out. And this one seems like maybe they didn't prioritize it as much to lay those seeds.
I wouldn't even say that. It feels more along the lines of like, we're trying to do something like shocking and edgy to like bring in viewers or something.
Maybe a little bit of that. Yeah.
That was really my take. It didn't feel like implausible. What felt unplausible was how much they fucked.
Right.
like everything up until then, I was like, oh, it's gonna get weird because like her husband's on the, he's this astronaut guy. I don't think he's even on the moon. It's just
there's the dead son of it all, right? So their marriage is already strained because they lost a kid. Then they adopted this girl. They got an
adopted daughter
that's like now growing up and wanting to have a life of her own and really doesn't want them to have that much input into what she decides to do with her life. And so there's already this strain. You can see the path to them separating and divorcing. But then for her to make that choice on top of that, to cheat on him with this kid essentially is fucked up.
I'm also like it's gonna come back to this because she didn't tell him who she cheated with. She just told him that she cheated.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, maybe if you fucking mentioned this other part, that would be very healthy. It's like dropping one bomb and then like, I'm going to save this other bomb for later, drop them both at the same time. Let's just get this over with.
So let's get to season 3.
Season 3.
So it just premiered episode 1. So we've only seen the first episode, and it is another time jump. Are we assuming it's another 9-ish years? I don't think we know exactly how much.
It's not 96. They're trying to make a 96 launch window.
It says, according to the episode description, it says nearly 10 years have passed. So yeah, essentially another decade.
What? She's running against Clinton, isn't she? Right. Ellen's running against Clinton. So that would be 92. Yeah. Okay.
Supposedly, I guess. Right. Yeah. Supposedly 92.
Unless all those years got mixed up a little bit. it's possible that everything's mixed up a bit.
Yeah, so we get another amazing montage sequence of alternate history, which is great. There's a President Hart in there, which any big 80s heads can let us know what that's all about.
I don't know anything about that.
We were not born. to know anything about anyone named Hart, but that's for you Gen Xers out there to be like, ooh, President Hart. I understand that reference. But yeah, so just to set the stage a little bit, there is now a hotel in orbit around the Earth called Polaris, which is the name of the episode.
They beat Elon and Jeff Bezos, huh?
By multiple decades. And we have a wedding at the space station, and it's Danny Stevens. It's the son. It's the son that Karen slept with, the son of Gordo and Tracy, getting married to his new bae. And the whole gang's there. The whole gang went up into orbit to celebrate this destination wedding, which, by the way, I'm an engaged man now, and now I'm in the headspace of trying to figure out what kind of wedding I want to have. And any type of let's just say exotic locale has the potential to turn deadly. You really want to think about like what kind of place you want to bring your guests to if you're trying to go the destination wedding.
I saw a bunch of people go to space, and I know what that means. Somebody has to die.
The fact that like now this wedding will always be linked to this horrible disaster.
It's so great until everything goes to shit and multiple people die, and
right.
The whole thing felt like a huge jab at like space tourism. And I think they had like some quote from the episode that it was like, we got all this like luxury up in space. We forgot that like space is a cold bitch. Like
it'll fuck you up. And if you for 1 second get comfortable, you have another thing coming, buddy. And to your point about the silence in space, that was one of the most effective things about this first episode is like those shots of the space station and that cable whipping around, just tearing through the outside hole without a sound is fucking terrifying.
Watching those guys get launched into space, you don't want to hear them. You're like, oh, they're gone. They're just gone. What's better, to burn up in the atmosphere or to just like take off the mask and like boil to death there before you implode? Like,
part of me would feel like it would be cool to just like be free orbit, just like Sandra Bullock in Gravity, but I don't think I feel like it's very likely that you'd be spinning so fast that you would just pass out. You wouldn't be able to like enjoy the trip of just right floating through space.
Yeah. I mean, the whole first episode, it really like set the tone for it, where it's like, oh, they're not done making mistakes. It's just that like, I guess kind of the themes are really that it's like it takes somebody like willing to just go and act like against their best individual interests and do something good for everybody else.
Okay, so yeah, okay, you're alluding to the end, which is Danny going out there and saving everybody, which that is a moment that I'm just like, it makes me want to stand up and cheer. And just go all caps, like that's how it's fucking done, baby.
Dude was like lifting a wrench above his head in 4Gs, like, and then putting it on that little knob and then turning it like.
But think about the layers, Dane. Think about the layers, right? So the top layer is just the visceral thrill of watching this, right?
Just this guy,
just the surface level, like guy being weighed down by 4 times his usual gravity, saving everybody on the spacecraft on his own with his own hand. Like that's level 1. Level 2 is the fact that we know this guy and we kind of don't like him.
We don't like him at all. We hate this guy. Not enough to watch him like get flung into space and all of his friends and family die, but we don't like him.
Like we'd be kind of fine if he didn't make it.
It's like, save everybody and then you're good to die. It's all good.
Right. Like it wouldn't be detrimental to the whole.
Oh no, I've got to mourn this guy I don't like. That's really the extent of my discomfort.
And then the genius level the galaxy brain level is that we saw his parents do the same thing last season. And he is directly walking in their shoes.
He didn't hesitate at all. He had that Gordo brain, you know?
Like, to have this season open on that note, it kind of floored me, right? To be like, oh my God, we're opening like this. This is next level storytelling. This is expert level shit.
And I think the crazy thing about that is, like, we don't really know what the implications of this are. There's probably going to be like political implications that affect other people's relationships. But what I am sure of is that this really is a huge moment for I don't want to call it a love triangle, but the love triangle.
Well, that's the secret layer. That's the secret layer too, which is, I cannot believe that they are leaning into that storyline. Like, they could have easily just forgotten about that. They could have just been like, you know what, that was a weird thing that we did with these characters. It's been 9 years. Like, it's fine.
They want to get weird with it.
They're going for it, and it's honestly really.
I think it's working.
Well, we don't know yet. I don't know. I think so far so good. I'll say that so far so good, but it's a risk, isn't it? Isn't it like a huge risk to be like, yeah, one of the main focal points of this new season is going to be this kind of weird thing that we did with these two characters hooking up. They play the same song at the wedding.
That was so weird. I mean,
they fucked too.
That's initially like the first thing that it's like, oh yeah, remind me that I don't like this guy. Thank you. Like, that was one of the most fucked up things that I think you could ever do. There's layers to that too. There's the fact that it's like her ex. They're technically exes, and he's doing that and inviting her to the wedding, but like also the whole relationship that like she's his best friend's mom.
Also, we don't know.
Oh my God,
what's happened in these 9 years? Like, have they kept hooking up? Like, I don't know.
I don't think there's any way. It's got to be over, right? But from this episode, I'm like, oh, Joel Kinnaman does not have any fucking clue.
Not even close. Not even a bit. My guy is injecting steroids just to keep walking along.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's just old, and
well, that's the thing with these characters is like, are they like 70? Like, what?
Like Molly's got to be like getting up there.
So let's say they were like 30 in season 1. So maybe they're 60. Right. Maybe they're 60 tops. So I guess they're not ancient.
Right. They're old, but they're not old. They're not on a beach old. They're not old.
They haven't gone to the beach and gotten old.
Right.
Yeah. So what did you think of some of the other parts of this premiere episode? Because I think the first half, one of the things that I really like about it is that we don't go to Mars right away. They mentioned Mars. I was willing to bet that we would start with Mars. And I'm really glad we didn't, because we start very small, very character based.
It's kind of like back to the first season where we got to work our way to Jamestown. We don't just have Jamestown.
Yeah. So what did you think of some of the other kind of the flip side of the thrills of the whole Polaris incident?
There's the whole like Russian espionage plot that I think that like when they hinted at that at the end of the second season, that was the thing I was the most excited about, again because I think I like Margot a lot, but
she's great.
I mean,
they gave her a lot of time this episode. I think she may have had the most time,
and she's still the same as she was. Start with her waking up on her couch
in the office. My girl sleeps at work. That's sad. I'm sorry.
I respect it. She's that committed to the fucking grind, and the grind is like exploring space. It's so fucking cool.
What does she drink? Is that like condensed
Slim
milk?
Fast? She's just drinking Slim Fast. That's all she eats. Her fucking like turning down the bribe. Also, like, yeah, send it back. I don't care that they flew in this cod from Iceland.
Yeah.
Like, it's not important. We're
not
NASA. We're above
we don't
that.
take bribes. Also, I love her just playing piano first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, I want to do that shit. Let me set my shit up here. Damn.
Yeah, she's just an incredibly consistent character. I think what I'm really excited for with the espionage subplot is it's like she's getting played.
Mm-hmm.
And she's only really had one moment in the entire series where it's like she's wrong and everybody else is right. Right. And that's it. In the first season where they save, was it Molly who gets lost in space, or was that Ellen? It was one of them.
I can't remember. I know Molly is the one. Molly. Oh yeah, that's the other thing with Molly. It was a little tough to catch it with her, but she's blind now, right?
Yeah, fully blind. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's reading Braille.
Right. And that was
still overseeing all the astronauts.
That was something big with her taking in that, what was it, like a solar storm? That was fucking crazy. She runs through a solar storm.
You know, if we look back at season 2, we shouldn't be surprised at the immediate heightened intensity of season 3.
Right.
Season 2 starts out with that solar storm, and
holy shit.
One guy's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna develop cancer and die, so I'm leaving NASA," and she's like, "You can't fucking quit. That's weak. You're not weak." And he's like, "I want to enjoy my life.
You're
sorry,
going
dog.
blind, lady." Fuck. Yeah, I love Molly. I think, she got the one little scene this episode, but I hope we get a lot more from her. It kind of makes me wonder, because like I was reading some stuff online today before we jumped on, and like for some reason a lot of people were thinking that they felt that the show was going to kill off a lot of the OG cast members.
So I think that is where they're heading. They're not certainly not going to kill all of them. But I could see a couple of them dying, and I think that it works well. I don't know if they've necessarily brought in enough new people.
That's
yet.
The thing. Yeah.
They've definitely had options. There was two astronauts and then the space marine. I think they were named characters, but they didn't have a lot of screen time, but they did do important things like shoot Russians on the moon and hold a gun to Joel Kinnaman. So he didn't. They had important things, but I don't think that their characters are important. So
right. I mean, we'll see. There might be people we might meet along the way that we haven't met yet, but just thinking about some of the younger crew, like there's the Hispanic girl that's working with Margot.
We've got like her, and then Gordo and Tracy's sons. Only one of them
Danny
is gonna
and
be
Jimmy. Which, by the way, let's talk about Jimmy real quick. He gives that speech.
It was fucking dark.
That was a great moment. Because that character was like not really a character before. And now they're like giving him some stuff to work with, and it's really interesting.
I feel like they had it kind of like hinted that was kind of the direction that they were going to go when like at the beginning of season 2, when Danny's the older one, when he comes back from the Naval Academy after his first year, and then Jimmy is I think he was wearing like a Misfits t-shirt and like a baggy hoodie. And I was like, oh yeah, this kid fucking hates the Navy. Like I see that in his face. He does not, he is rebelling against the rest of his family.
Yeah. We don't know exactly how old they are or what their age difference is, but you get the sense that like Danny saw the death of his parents as an opportunity to keep their baton going, to carry that flag still beyond their passing. And Jimmy's seeing it more of like
they died for nothing.
They died for nothing. They abandoned me. Their death does not have enough meaning to me. It might have meaning to the country.
He says that thing also where it's like they didn't really love each other or whatever. It was like just the government putting on this big show and whatever. It's like they didn't actually die in each other's arms or whatever. And it's like,
but they did.
It's like, my boy, you're so wrong.
They fucking did, dude. Like, they literally did. Like, that's what's so tragic, because he's right. They did fight a lot. They did kind of hate each other's guts, but in that moment when it came down to it, they were there. They were there for each other.
I think that the whole next generation group, like the next well, not even genetic, because there's also the adopted daughter down in Antarctica.
That should be interesting. I'm sure that's a setup for something interesting.
I'm excited to learn about that for sure.
Let's go underwater, baby. Let's go. Let's explore the
James Cameron shit out of here. Yeah, I don't know what they could be doing in Antarctica, but that's got to be like a purely science thing. So I guess she's like not a pilot or something.
I don't know. We'll see. I'm sure it'll be something interesting. Or at least I hope so. But I just thinking back to the timeline we were discussing earlier, if this is 1992 and they're saying that they're going to Mars in 1996, there's going to be at least that 4-year time jump throughout this season. So I think that that's a good opportunity to invest in whatever the next roster of main characters is.
I don't know if it's that far away, because I don't know how long those guys have to stay on Mars, but I'm definitely seeing a time jump in this season.
Right.
That looks in the cards.
Yeah, and just based on this one episode and how much they made me care about Danny Stevens, a character that I did not care for at all. And in the span of one episode, they made me root for him. I have faith that whatever they decide to do, if they introduce new characters or kind of move up tertiary characters, I have faith.
It's just kind of like a thing that's like, it's not like how was I going to say this? We still got it, like trust us. We still know what we're doing.
I'm 65, but I can inject some steroids into my ass and still fly this goddamn plane.
Yeah.
My guy broke his hip. My guy fell step and just immediately fucking is disabled now.
I mean, his bone density's got to be like absolute garbage.
Yeah. That was, well, okay, yeah, there's that, but also the multiple G's, the 2G, 3G.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way he's able to put any weight on that.
Right.
Like he's not able to limp. You are carrying him in addition to like 2.5 of yourself and another 2.5 of him.
That's something that I really loved about this episode, is that a simple idea as a artificial gravity
just
increasing, going out of whack. I don't think I've ever seen it done like this before. I mean, I'm sure it's been done in some way in some other story, but the way it was done here, I just found it so creative, so unique, and yet so simple. I really like that.
They do a really good job with, like, I mean, all the things that eventually spiral into huge major plot points, other than guns on the moon.
Yeah,
it's really like, oh, something went wrong, and now here's 30 minutes of everybody like, these people are going to die if we do not fix this right now.
Which is a kind of a genre in and of itself, isn't it? Like, there's all sorts of movies, specifically like space movies, that are just like, here's a problem, a very specific problem, and here's the only people that are capable of fixing that problem. Go.
I mean, it's Star Trek to an extent.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing.
Which is isn't that what season 7 of this show is? Like, it's just Star Trek.
How long can this show go? I mean, easily this season and then another 10-year jump and then another 10-year jump and then you're at the present day.
They'll pass
right?
us. I'm sure they'll pass the 2020s.
I figure the last season has got to be a future season.
It has to be.
That's it.
It 100% has to be. I feel like season 4 will be like Saturn, right? And then 5.
You think they're going to like Europa or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
And then 5 will be like beyond our solar system. Just
plans. I mean, I guess it's all exploration. There's no way they introduce aliens, right? That would be a bad twist, right?
I feel like they could figure out a way to do it. I don't know.
There's definitely some truth to that.
Like they'll figure out a way to be like, damn, like that does make sense. Like some kind of extra dimensional being that isn't humanoid.
I probably wouldn't be like, oh no, aliens. I don't like this show anymore. It'd probably be more like, oh, aliens. Let's see how this impacts all the politics and interpersonal relationships.
Yeah. Somehow Trump still gets elected.
Oh no. Actually, that's Guns on the Moon 2 Electric Boogaloo.
That would be if this show is like, okay, not only does Ronald Reagan still get elected, but also Trump still gets elected. I'm like, all right, I'm out of here. Good luck with that.
I mean, that, I don't think I've kind of made jokes about it this entire time, but like the capitalism versus communism is like so present in everything that they do.
Well, with the hotel, like, is this hotel going to be like a recurring thing? Like, are we going to see more iterations of this?
That business has got to be ruined, right? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Who am I kidding? Those guys who died in space, they didn't even have names.
Well, no.
They don't matter. They don't matter.
Karen's new man is...
Yeah, he's gone.
Dude, okay. So I'm glad I remembered to bring this up. Okay. So they introduced Karen with this new man, right? And obviously Ed has his new girl and they don't get along, which is hilarious.
You remember who that is, right?
The blonde girl?
No. Her Karen's new guy.
I did not recognize him.
That's Trace's husband.
Oh, that's that guy.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a good catch, dude. I did not catch that.
It was really nice to like, oh, he's dead now? Oh, that means Karen's just got a shitload of money now. Okay. I'm cool with this.
Dude.
That was entirely a plot device, and I'm so fine with it because it's like, oh yeah, another person dying in space, and I get to see what Karen's gonna do with a shitload of money.
The way those plot beats play out, like, made me ascend, because like
it makes sense.
Well, I'm dealing with, first of all, my brain is dealing with the fact that we're continuing this thread of her sleeping with fucking Danny Stevens, right? I'm like, oh shit. But then also you have this guy that now she's with, right? Supposedly is her new steady, right? Boom, motherfucker gets crushed, just gone. Piece off the table, over. By the way, her acting during that shot, amazing. Because you can tell she's like distraught, but she's also like, she can't process it. She can't bring herself to like process it. And also she's like, I have to like deal with my hotel.
She's come such a long way from season one. Like season one, she would have lost her shit and not been able to do that. Season 2, she would have been like too stoned to deal with it. Like season 3, she's a businesswoman. She's yeah.
We cut from that directly to her talking to Danny. Like the writers know exactly what they're doing. And it's like, as soon as that piece is off the table, the very next thing we're going to do is have this character interact with this fucking guy.
Danny call her Karen.
I'm just like, oh, fuck, dude. Fuck. That's a risky move. That is a risky move.
You know, on one hand, it's like, it's actually really feeding into like my love of really, really like sadistic reality TV. Not trashy, sadistic. Like just like, let's put people in terrible positions and watch how they play out, except for like they're entirely scripting this. It's, you know.
Yeah, and it's incredibly well acted too. And it's done with this huge scale, big budget. Nothing looks cheap. You know, whatever sets they built are seamless with the CGI. It is just a fucking great show.
I am baffled. I want to look at how they filmed the Room.
Yes, well, that Stanley Kubrick did that for 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh yeah, that's right.
They literally built a fucking circular set. So I don't know if that's what they did with this. I'd be interested to see that. But there is, when I saw that, I was like, that is a nod to what Kubrick did for sure. But yeah, I love this show. I'm so excited to talk about it. Maybe not every single episode, but maybe we can pair a couple episodes together.
Very least into the season catch up.
Yeah. Or if something big happens,
we'll talk about it.
That's like game changing. Then we'll jump on. And also, like I said at the beginning, like we watch so much TV. There might be an opportunity to squeeze in a couple other shows there. I know you're watching The Boys too, which is amazing. New season. Before you go, any other big takeaways from this show? Any other things that you're looking forward to? Anything else about For All Mankind that's on your mind?
I'm really excited to see the storyline with the little Hispanic girl who's not a little Hispanic girl anymore. She's going to space finally.
Going to Mars.
I don't want her to die in space.
Fuck no. I'd be upset.
Yeah. That's a death I don't know if I could handle. I've seen enough death.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Dane, for coming on.
I really appreciate
it. We will be back on Mars or on the moon soon enough to keep talking about this amazing show. I can't get enough of it. I think, when I put it on my list last year, I was riding a high because I was really close to my time watching it, and then kind of taking a break. I was thinking like, was it really that good? Was I really just kind of overhyping it? And now diving into season 3, I'm like, no, this is
not at all.
This is good shit. I hope that more people find it. I hope that it gets the recognition that it deserves, because it is truly incredible television. Thank you, listeners, for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the show and recommending it. Please be sure to let us know what you thought of this show. If you watched it, let us know in the comments. Rate, review, subscribe, and donate. Like Dane over here, thank you for donating and supporting. And visit webotamic.net for all other episodes and backlog and archives and all those good things. And you can also sign up to get episodes delivered to your inbox every week, every time we upload. Next week, we will probably be giving you more TV talk with Atlanta. Hopefully, that's the plan. No promises, though, because there's a lot of other ways this could go. There's a lot. We could do a catch-up episode. In terms of new movies, we're not going to talk about Jurassic World. Sorry. But Lightyear is coming. Probably won't do a big episode on that, but that is one of my big ticket items for the Fantasy Film League. So I'm going to at least have to support it with my dollar.
Yeah, I kind of feel like Hunter is going to want to support it too,
Lightyear, really?
Yeah.
The story of the human that the toy was based on?
Yeah, I mean, he almost like killed himself trying to be Buzz Lightyear once, right?
Oh my God. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Maybe we could have Hunter do like a live recreation of that for the podcast in honor of the film Lightyear 2022. And then eventually, I promise, we will get back to our Robin Williams series. It is on hiatus right now. It's the summertime. It's the summer of Morbius. At least it was supposed to be the summer of Morbius.
Still is, baby.
And it's not Morbin. It's not Morbin, so we got to get back to Robin sooner rather than later. So stick around. And we'll see you next time. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.